All right, the cycle repeat graph. Max, you want to explain this?
Yeah, so the cycle repeat graph shows what will happen to Bitcoin if it continues on the same path as it did in the bubble in 2017. So if you look at the left-hand side of the screen, you'll see the same pattern reflected onto the right-hand side, except with a different starting value for the price of Bitcoin. Now, this starting value is depicted on what the average value of Bitcoin is for the year prior to the next bubble when Bitcoin is semi-stable. In 2017, it was about $1,000 a coin. In 2020, for this bubble, it's about 10,000 a coin. So, if we're to continue on the same path as we did in 2017, we should expect the price of Bitcoin to get to about $280,000 before the bubble pops again. Now, if you look at the center of this graph in red, you'll see the current value of Bitcoin, and you'll note that it's clearly above the green trend line below, which I think is due to the influx in stimulus.
Yeah, Max, we can actually see how much stimulus impacted the price of Bitcoin. So, what we're going to do, let's look at M2. This is the money supply. We can see throughout the past 40 years, up until 2020, the money supply is pretty steady. We don't see any crazy money printing like we do in 2020. Right when week 10 hits, when the pandemic goes in full force, we start printing money like we've never seen before. So, what happens to Bitcoin when we start printing money like this? Let's see the price. So, if we download this M2 and we download some Bitcoin price data, throw them into Excel, we can see that at the exact same time, week 10 of 2020, M2 explodes and so does Bitcoin's price. This just shows since Bitcoin is a fixed asset, there will only ever be 21 million Bitcoins, and there can be unlimited American dollars. So the price of Bitcoin has to go up relative to American dollars since it's a scarce resource.
Yeah, and it's important to note that not only did the pandemic cause an influx in US dollars and therefore inflation, making the US dollars worth less, that it also drove that last 20% or so of the US population to be forced to go online from brick and mortar, we were no longer able to shop in person due to the pandemic. And because of that forced acceleration online, we see an acceleration in the dot-com boom in the stage that would normally take another few years to get that last 20% online. And Bitcoin is the currency of the internet.
All true, all true. So why would Bitcoin ever see cycles like this? Well, Bitcoin's actually seen a lot of cycles like this. So since the inception in 2008, we've seen about 4 or 5 real bubbles where the Bitcoin price explodes and then drops at about 75-80%. So everybody knows the 2017 bubble. This is the famous Bitcoin bubble where it hits $20,000, and but most people don't look at the 2014 bubble. This is the bubble that was directly before the 2017 one, where it does a very similar price jump from about $100 to about $1,000, a 10x. And if we look at the logarithmic scale, we can see this cycle looks very similar to the second cycle in 2017. So, are we starting the third market cycle that is really going to impact the world? And what's going to happen to Bitcoin? Is it going to go through another bubble like we've seen in all other financial assets? Is it going to go through the greater fool theory, where the dominant reason that people buy Bitcoin is that it's rising in price?